Howdy, folks. So, a couple people seemed vaguely interested in my musings about being a fat martial artist, so I thought we would come back and talk about a few more of my experiences and observations about being a pudgy person in the dojo. Now, in my last video, what I attempted to do was to strike a balance between talking about the positive and negative aspects of being a fat martial artist. Number one, because I really didn't want to focus on the negative, that's never fun. And number two, and perhaps more importantly, most people don't want to hear a sob story. They don't want to sit there and hear you talk about why your life is so much harder than theirs. However, in this video, what I would like to do is talk rather specifically about the big negatives of being a fat martial artist. Now, just like before, this isn't going to be a giant fat acceptance diatribe, and like I said in the previous video, I'm not going to try to convince you to be nicer to the fat people in your martial arts school, although you should be. This is really just me recounting things that I've seen and experienced as a big person. So with that giant preamble out of the way, let's talk about it. The big negative, the really big negative, in being a fat martial artist is that everything, and I mean everything, is harder when you are a fat martial artist. Every squat, every boxing drill, every parry riposte drill, every lunge in fencing, every push-up, every conditioning workout, everything is considerably harder when you are a large person in the dojo. Now, that isn't very revelatory, is it? We all kind of intuitively understand that if you have extra weight on you, it's just going to be harder to do, well, anything. But I think it's really easy to forget just how much harder it really can be. So, let me give you a comparison that I think really captures what's going on here. Let's say you have two people in your martial arts school. One of them is a hefty 230-pound fella, and another is a 180-pound guy. If you see that 180-pound guy wearing a 50-pound weight vest while he does push-ups, pull-ups, boxing drills, whatever it happens to be, we all kind of agree that that dude's a badass for willingly putting on 50 pounds to make his workouts that much harder. But try to think about it this way. That 230-pound guy is really just a 180-pound guy who can't take his weight vest off. He has a biological weight vest that is stuck to him even when the workout is over. And before you start, yes, we all are aware that that big person can lose that biological weight vest if they diet and exercise. Yes, we know. But at 1 to 2 pounds weight loss a week for most people, it's pretty different from the dude who can just take off his weight vest and put it on the floor when his workout is over, versus the big fella who basically has to wear that vest all day, every day, until it goes away. Consider also that that 180-pound metaphorical person that I talked about, if they're wearing a 50-pound weight vest and doing their exercises with any amount of competence, they're probably much more physically fit than that 230-pound person, yet they're carrying the same burden. So think about it. Is it going to be easier or harder to bear the same burden if you are more or less physically fit? Well, I think we all know the answer, don't we? Basically, the point I am getting around to is that being a fat person in the martial arts is playing the game on hard mode. And it's not just playing the game on hard mode in the way that the dude who puts the weight vest on is. We have to keep playing the game on hard mode from beginning basically to the end. And speaking of the end, it's worth mentioning that because everything is so much harder for big people in the martial arts, that's one of the reasons that a lot of us either don't really get into it that hard. We might only go once or twice a week. And it's also one of the big reasons that big people don't stick around in the martial arts. The fact that everything is harder doesn't just mean that the workout sucks more. We can deal with that. As big people, you just sort of get used to a little bit of knee and back pain. The problem is that the potential for injury really goes up when you are a much larger person. I mean, really, just imagine the difference in the level of stress that's put on your knees, for example, during squats, if you're that metaphorical 180-pound person I talked about earlier, versus a 230-pound person, or God forbid, a 270-pound person like I am. And it's for this reason that a lot of the health and fitness that you're seeking as a big person by doing martial arts gets cannibalized by the injuries and strain that are put on your joints, your ligaments and muscles because of that training. You go in there looking to get healthier, but if you're big, there's a solid chance you're going to get hurt much more frequently than a lot of your other classmates, which means that you're going to spend more time out of training. You're going to spend more time recovering. It's going to be much harder for you to actually get to that level of fitness that you originally wanted to get by doing martial arts. So, now that I've regaled you with all the reasons that being a fat martial artist totally suck, let's just recap for a quick review of what we've talked about. Being a big martial artist is, on average, more difficult than being a not big martial artist. That level of difficulty is probably exponentially worse the bigger that you are. And when you are going into martial arts for health, fitness, weight loss, whatever it happens to be, your goals are probably going to be slowed down by the fact that the wear and tear on your body is going to injure you. You're probably going to have to spend time out of training just to recover, which means that the reason that you got into the martial arts is inevitably going to be the reason why you have to stop training from time to time. And for a lot of big people, it's oftentimes the reason they stop training entirely. So there you go. And just like in the previous video, I'm not looking for any kind of sympathy. Truth be told, I don't think any big people are looking for sympathy. But bringing this up is really just about getting you to consider that for the big person in your class, whether they're a new student or if they've been around for a while, their experience of training is quite different to yours, and it might do you just a little bit of good to think about it now and again. So thank you for sticking around to the end and listening to me bitch and rant and talk about why being fat totally sucks sometimes. But hope you all have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed